A decision by President Trump is looming on immigration policy, and protesters are already making their views known. People in Texas held a rally to celebrate a partial victory yesterday. That's because a judge blocked a state law designed to get police more involved in immigration enforcement. But there's still a big concern about the fate of DACA, the Obama-era program that enables undocumented immigrants who came here as children to avoid deportation.
I'm scared, I'm nervous.
We're about 1 million youth who has parents, who have brothers and sisters.
Well, the president plans to announce on Tuesday whether he is keeping the program. CBS News says that Trump has already decided to end it. At the same time, House Speaker Paul Ryan and some other Republicans are urging him to hold off. And a number of entrepreneurs and business leaders from across the country have written an open letter to President Trump calling on him to preserve DACA. They include the CEOs of Facebook, Apple, Netflix, and Amazon, just to name a few.
Joining us now to talk about the future of DACA is Congressman Mark DeSaulnier from the East Bay. If the president even decided to keep the program, there's no guarantee that it would stay in place. I have, 10 attorney generals from states around the country that are saying they're going to file suit to overturn it. So this might be out of his hands.
It could be. If they file a lawsuit, the threat is that they would. This is what triggered his decision, or is forcing his decision. It's led by the Attorney General in Texas.
So what we have here is possibly this entire idea of allowing children who were brought here illegally by their parents to remain, because this is the only country they know. This is a very emotional issue across the board. Even Republicans are concerned about this. Now, for these kids that are here, it's going to be crisis time. And what is Congress going to do about it? Because ultimately, you guys make the call on immigration law.
Well, we have bipartisan bills that would make it legal, would make DACA legal, so that the threat would go away. The lead bill is in the Senate. It's by Senator Durbin, Democrat from Illinois, and Lindsey Graham from Florida.
Okay, so you have bipartisan support. So if the president does do away with the program, or if the courts, do you think that Congress is going to pass something?
It would be really good if they did. This is all triggered by Congress's inability to pass. So 2 sessions ago, there was a bipartisan bill, 4 Democrats, 4 Republicans, passed out of the Senate with bipartisan support, never got a hearing in the House, that would have taken care of this problem and also
Why is it so tough to get through the House? Why does the House not want to talk about it? If Paul Ryan, who's the head of the Republicans in the House, says we don't want to end the program, why is it so hard to get anybody in the House to even hear it?
Because House Republicans, in my view, and a lot of people's view, are controlled by very wealthy donors outside who don't want this to go through, and actually have funded a lot of the disinformation to make this such a...
But a lot of corporations want, the wealthy people, come on, let's be honest about this. Immigration is, businesses want to have that supply of the workforce.
So if you look at the history of this, it's the Mercers, very wealthy donor who are close to Steve Bannon. They thought this was a wedge issue. They've used it to drive people to come out and vote for their candidates, and a lot of the people in the Republican caucus don't want to be on record to vote for it.
And
a
lot of Democrats don't want to be on record as to putting any kind of limits on future immigration, because some of this would require to say that if let's say you got here before 2012, you would be covered. But people subsequent to that, kids subsequent to that, we have to draw a line somewhere. Are Democrats willing to draw a line?
The problem is that the Congress doesn't function, and it's mostly the majority parties that have responsibility. I've been in the majority in the legislature in California. If you're in the majority, you set the rules. They don't want to have a vote on it. They're Democrats who have different opinions. Personally, I think immigration reform is past due. You've got over 800,000 kids here who were brought, as you say, by their parents, didn't do anything wrong, going to school, doing the right thing. 217,000 here. They don't, as you said, they don't have family back in Mexico or in Central. So you're going to take them and put them back, and they're all contributing. These aren't people who have called the problem.
But the solution might
the solution is Congress doing its job.
And my history on this issue is that I've got Republicans that say we don't want them here, and I've got Democrats who say we don't want to put limits on people coming here.
No, but Phil, the problem is, and the country knows this, Congress is dysfunctional, and that's largely in the hands of the majority party. You should put the bill up, have committee hearings, regular order is what Senator McCain wants to have, and then people are held accountable for their votes.
If Democrats got together with parts of the Republicans,
there's the problem.
They would be the majority.
But the Republicans adhere to the Hassett rule that says they don't bring a bill up unless they have a majority vote in the Republican caucus. That's why Speaker Boehner left, was because the idea of actually working together is prohibited by the rules, the Hassett rule, in the Republican caucus.
Is something as emotionally charged as this, do you think it's enough to bust up the Hassett rule?
I would certainly hope so, but that's up for the majority party. That's why elections are important.
So you're reading it. What do you think happens? What do you think happens next week?
If there's enough pressure from the public, the polls say that 78% of Americans, Republicans and Democrats, think this is unfair, what they're trying to do, then if there's enough pressure, hopefully they'll respond. And Congress will work. You'll have people held on the record, representatives like myself, voting for or against it.
How much time do we have? Because when you say this is what they're going to do, are you talking about the president or the courts? I mean, because we have an entire, this is a gap in law. We basically have been unable to pass a law, so we passed it. The president signed, Obama signed a series of, we're just Band-Aids over the problem. The problem is still there. Do you think there's a solution?
Yeah, there is a solution. We had a bill 2 sessions ago. There's a bill right now that would make this legal. All that has to happen is the majority party has to let the bill be heard, and then people are held accountable. Members are held accountable. That's the problem, is you've got the majority party refuse to bring it to the floor.
Okay, and we're going to see what happens, because this one is going to get very emotional about this, because those kids are faces and people, real people. This isn't abstract.
It should be emotional.
Okay, thank you. Mark DeSaulnier for joining us this morning.